Hello and welcome to another episode of Agency Leadership TV. I'm your host, Chip Griffin, and today we've got a tough topic to talk about, but it's not going to be nearly as depressing, I don't think, as the subject sounds. In fact, I think that there is a lot of opportunity to be discussed in the time ahead. The question is, what happens if things don't get back to normal soon? Or what happens if they don't get back to normal, whatever that is, in 2021 at all? What does that mean for your agency, for your business, and beyond? So, with that, let's go ahead and get into today's show. All right, so for the last, 6 months or so, we've all been saying, pretty soon it's going to get back to normal. Pretty soon it's going to get back to normal. That's what we're all driving for. It's what we're all hoping for. When all of this started, the talk was, let's take a couple of weeks to flatten the curve and then we can get back to the way we were doing things. And honestly, we've gotten to this point in the fall where it's pretty obvious that we're not going to be back to normal, or really, instead of normal, I should say, the way things were. We're not going to get back to the way things were in February anytime soon. And if you've listened to the Doom and Gloom episode of Agency Leadership Podcast that Jenny Dietrich and I recorded about 3 or 4 weeks ago, you know that I'm fairly pessimistic about what the last few months of this year has in store. But regardless, we're all moving forward and we're trying to come up with ideas for what to do with our businesses. We're making strategic decisions about what to do with our agencies, what kind of business to pursue, whether to renew leases, what to do with our employees, how to work with our clients going forward, when to think about resuming business travel. All of those things are on our minds. And so we're trying to think those through, and part of the calculus that most of us have is trying to guess at what point in time are we going to be going back to some of the activities that we had before. And so the first place where this typically kicks in is reopening offices. Some of you have already started to bring employees back, at least on a limited basis, depending upon where you are and what your own personal outlook is and risk tolerance is and all that. But then there are other things. Events. Events are probably the biggest thing impacting the agency community beyond sort of internal operations. And we're all trying to guess as to when we're going to have small events, when we're going to have big events. And my personal view, based on everything that I've seen, everything that I've looked at, is that we will not be looks like we're having some trouble with the stream here. All right. So, I'm getting a message here that the stream isn't working, but my preview is showing that YouTube is still working. So you know what? We're just going to ride with this. Hopefully you are still seeing me despite all the warning lights that I'm seeing pop up here. And so we're going to charge ahead with this. If you have a chance, leave a comment and let me know if you're actually able to see me. That would be fantastic. It's always good to know that I'm still being listened to. But I can see myself staring at the screen here a few moments ago trying to figure things out. So let's just keep going. Let's talk about this. This is frankly the situation that we're all in right now. And so we're all trying to figure out not just our streams and are they working or not, and where are they headed, but we're trying to figure out where things are headed for our businesses. And as we start to think about things like when are events coming back, and are they going to come back on a large scale in the first half of 2021, the second half of 21, not until 2022, who knows? These are things that are very difficult to contemplate. We don't want to think about them. We want to think about going back to the things the way they were as soon as humanly possible. But the reality is we need to be making business decisions as if they might not. That's not all a bad thing. There are a lot of things that you may want to think about changing in your business going forward, regardless of when things go back to the way that they were. I know many of you are thinking about that in terms of offices. Many of you have seen that you can do a lot of things with a remote team that you didn't think were possible. Now, some of you are also finding some of the challenges of having a team that's working remotely. And I don't believe that we're headed to a scenario where agencies, by and large, work from home. I think there will still be a lot of agency offices out there, but there will certainly be a lot more flexibility in the workforces. There's access to more talent in different places that you can now contemplate more realistically than you could before. So that's an opportunity that you should think about seizing. You should also be thinking about how you might want to be looking at other aspects of your business. Things like the geography of your clients and traveling to them. If you're able to perfect some of the remote work with clients that you're doing now, with some of your clients who you typically saw locally, you may now have an opportunity to expand your client base if you're thinking creatively. If you're not just using Zoom as a replacement for in-person meetings, but rather trying to think about how can you capitalize on the fact that you have less time spent in travel, that you can meet perhaps more frequently face-to-face, even if it's over a video camera, than you could have in person. How can you take advantage of that? How can you deliver more and better services for your clients that way? How can you make your team more efficient so that you can generate better profits with less time? And that's good not only for you, it's good for your clients. Because the more efficient that you are as an agency, the more you can provide real value to your clients and not have to say, well, we can come have a meeting with you, but it's going to cost $2,000 or $3,000 for all of the team travel we need to get on an airplane and stay in a hotel and all that sort of thing. If you can find ways to do it more effectively remotely, that's fantastic. I know that's what I'm doing with my own business. I used to be based largely on traveling almost every single week of the year, meeting with people face to face, and I love it. I love being able to do that. I don't mind the air travel or the hotels or that kind of stuff. I don't love them, but it's part of the way that I did business for 20 years. But frankly, I'm excited now about the possibilities of being able to reach more people more cost effectively by using a medium like this, like we're using today, to communicate with each other. And by doing so, it allows me to reach a much broader audience. I can reach agencies all over the world that I would not have been able to work with previously when it was all built on a face-to-face structure. You should be thinking the same way for your agency. If things don't go back to normal, or even if they do, why would you not think about how you might make some adjustments? But you also have to have that contingency planning when you're thinking about the possibility of life not returning to the way it was in 2021. You need to think about, do you have the team flexibility, the financial flexibility, the management flexibility, frankly, the rest and energy that you need in order to be effective, in order to get through this next period of time, however long it may last. So those are things that you need to include in your planning process now. Don't be caught in the situation where you're assuming that we get a vaccine and things loosen up by the middle of next year. They might not. We hope they will, but they might not. And so you need to have flexibility built increasingly into your model. And this really is the future of agency businesses anyway. The more flexible that you can be, the more elastic you can build your resources and your approach to working with clients, the more effectively you can grow. We've seen even before all of this happened that there were agencies that were always riding right on a knife's edge, right on the precipice between success and disaster. We're learning now that there's real benefits to being flexible and to building that into your model. And particularly if you're looking at having remote teams or hybrid teams, a combination of payroll employees and freelancers and subcontractors and all of that, the more you can pull all of those pieces together, the more that you can be ready for whatever 2021, 22, 23 brings us. The more you can be prepared so that if we get great news tomorrow out of the FDA or CDC, you can capitalize on it. If we get bad news, you can capitalize on it. You can be in a position to have that strength if you're thinking with the mindset that things may not get back to the way they were. If you think about how you might want to change things, how could you take advantage of this disruption? How can you take advantage of the fact that you now have clients who are more open to ideas that perhaps 7 or 8 months ago they would have rejected out of hand. Think about how you can work with a team that's open to being more flexible. Think about how you may have to respond to some of the challenges too that come with that. If you're looking at having a hybrid or remote team, there are challenges that come with that. How do you build, team spirit, team morale, company culture? Start thinking about those things now. Thinking about how you might integrate some of those things for the longer term, particularly if we don't get back to normal, but even if we do. And so this is your time, particularly as many of you are sitting down and starting to do 2021 strategic planning. Sit down and think about these things. Start by looking inside yourself. Ask yourself what you want as an agency owner. What are you trying to get out of the business? As I say over and over again, there's no reason to take on the risk and responsibility of being an agency owner if you don't have the benefits, if you're not building a business that is giving you what you want. It's giving you the challenges that you want. It's giving you the time that you want. It's giving you the financial rewards that you want. You need to be getting all of those things out of the business. And so you need to be thinking, as you're doing your 2021 planning, what does the agency need to do for you? Then from there, you can figure out what do you need to be doing for your clients, for your team, for your community. But you need to be a little bit selfish in this planning and think about yourself and think about what you need in 2021. Think about, particularly for those of you who may have taken pay cuts or benefit cuts or are working extra hours or doing whatever it takes to survive right now. Think about how long that's actually sustainable. Can you continue to make those sacrifices through all of 2021? If not, now is the time to start making some changes, to start planning for how you can get to where you need to be. And I know that many of you just don't like that notion of being selfish, that you really want to build something that's successful for your whole team and that does right by your clients. And those are absolutely valid and important concerns. But you need to start with yourself, because if you're not building a business that works for you, the business will not survive. You need to start there. And you need to assume that things are not going to get better as quickly as you might hope. You need to think about how you're going to continue to move through this disruption yourself and as a business. So that's the message I really wanted to bring to you today. I think it's really important, particularly as most of you are starting to think about that planning process, that budgeting process for 2021. You need to make some worst case assumptions. Work through those assumptions to figure out how you're going to build the agency that works for you, that works for your clients, that works for your team in 2021 and beyond. If you'd like some additional videos and access to replays of this live stream and other things from the past, go ahead and go to agencyleadership.tv, full archive of all the videos. And of course, you can go to the agencyleadership.com website for access to all sorts of additional free resources. If you have questions that you'd like me to talk about on a future show, or maybe you've got a question for me to answer on the live Q&A that I do each Friday, we've got one coming up in just 2 days' time. Go ahead and email me at chip@agencyleadership.com, or you can leave a comment or question on the agencyleadership.com website using the Ask Chip functionality. And finally, I'd love for you to join at agencyleadership.com/join. With that, I will bring to an end this episode of Agency Leadership TV, and I look forward to seeing you back here on Friday at noon Eastern Time.